author Han Gang will receive her Nobel Prize in Literature later tonight, maybe going into the wee hours of early tomorrow morning, Korea time, making history for South Korea and South Korean literature. And during Nobel Week in Sweden, Han Gang said that the through line in all of her works is love, and that language is the thread that connects all of us, the thread flowing with the light and electricity of life. And this is truly the message we can take to heart as we try to navigate these times. I'm Catherine. This is Morning Wave in Busan on Tuesday, December 10th on BEFM, 부산영어방송. Good morning, Wavers. I hope you're all doing well and enjoying what we have of December, the last month of 2024. And so we're going to begin this morning with some good news. And we know we all need some good news, right? From Sweden that can kind of lift us up a little bit. So author Han Gang will receive her Nobel medal from the King of Sweden late tonight, or more accurately, early tomorrow morning. The ceremony will begin at midnight tonight, Korea time, and King Gustav XVI of Sweden will hand out the Nobel medal and diploma to the recipients of the prizes in physics, chemistry, biology and medicine, literature, and economy in that order. So Han Gang has been in Sweden for the past few days for Nobel Week for her first public appearance since being announced as the winner of the Nobel Prize in Literature. And her words in the press conference were about martial law and how she desperately hopes the country won't revert or go back to the past. Han also spoke about the role of literature in this age. And she said that literature enters the inner thoughts of someone else. And in that process, one enters kind of their own psyche. And repeating this process builds an internal power. She emphasized that literature, therefore, is always necessary. And her works have previously dealt with state-sponsored violence against people. And so to that end, she said that she constantly asks questions about why the world is so violent and painful. But at the same time, how can it be so beautiful? And we're going to listen to a clip of hers right now. So let's take a listen.
첫 소설부터 최근의 소설까지 어쩌면 내 모든 질문들의 가장 깊은 겹은 언제나 사랑을 향하고 있었던 것 아닐까?
So yes, basically she said that she has come to the conclusion that the deepest layer of all of her questions were always love. So let's, sink in a little bit. Let that sink in. And she also spoke about how language is a thread that connects us once again. So when the times are dark, like they are right now, I think it's really important to hold on to that thread she just spoke about and not lose sight of love. All right, along those lines, let's change the mood a little bit with our text topic. Here we go. If you won the Nobel Prize, and I'm going to let you choose the category. So if you won the Nobel Prize in something and had to donate something that encapsulates you to the Nobel Museum, because we just heard yesterday, Han Gang, the beautiful kind of like green-blue teacup that she donated to the Nobel Museum. So what would you donate is the question. 자, 내가 노벨상을 탔다. 생각만 해도 너무 조금 설레면서도 약간 부끄러워요. 그런 자격은 저는 없지만 그래서 노벨상을 받았다 생각하고 나는 어떤 물건을 기증해야 되겠다라는 게 뭘까요? For each of you waivers. 무엇을 donate, 기부, like 물건 본인이 소중하게 생각하는 거, what is it? Or is it something that is maybe, something a little bit different, but I definitely want to get your creative juices going right now. So we're imagining you winning the Nobel Prize. 그러니까 노벨 그 박물관에 전시될 물건이니까. So it has to be something that is visible that kind of makes sense, and you can explain it to all of us. You can send in your messages to BFM's live stream live chat on YouTube. So go to the YouTube platform, type in BEFM or 부산영어방송 to find our channel. So click on that, subscribe, log in, and chat with our other waivers. Also, on your phone, pound 9050, shop 9050. That's going to cost you 101. You can also send in your messages for free through our Kakao Talk channel. So same thing there, search for BEFM or 부산영어방송. Find our channel, add us as a friend, and send in your messages. And if you have a photo of whatever it is that you want displayed at the Nobel Museum, you can send them in as well. The ways you can listen to us: 90.5, 103.3 FM on the radio dial. That's if you're in the Busan area. But like I said, we're streaming live on YouTube as well. Excuse me. And you can watch right now or later on at your leisure. We have 2 apps where you can download for free and listen to our program. So we have our own BEFM app, and we also have the Patbang app too. All right, let's take a look at the lineup for today. So it's Tuesday. We have Andrew with Sports Insider. We have Bonnie with the health. For our special interview, we're going to cover a story that we have been following. Korean Air and Asiana, this merger, it is going to happen. So they're looking to tie up all the loose ends by this month. So let's find out what this actually means with our expert. That's coming up in hour number 2. And I'll be back with today's headlines. It is now 7:07. These are today's headlines. President Yoon placed under travel ban. President Yoon Suk-yeol became the first president to be placed under a travel ban, pending treason investigations related to his short-lived imposition of martial law last week. Prosecution requests arrest warrant for ex-defense minister. Prosecutors have requested an arrest warrant for former defense minister Kim Yong-hyun to investigate his alleged role in President Yoon Suk-yeol's martial law declaration. Police to summon counterintelligence chief and ex-interior minister. The police will summon the head of the Defense Counterintelligence Command DCC, Lieutenant General Yeo In-hyung, and ex-interior minister Lee Sang-min as suspects in the martial law case. PPP to elect new floor leader amid martial law turmoil. The ruling People Power Party, PPP, said yesterday it will elect a new floor leader Thursday to replace Chu Kyung-ho, who stepped down after the impeachment motion against President Yoon Suk-yeol was scrapped from a lack of quorum. Syrian Prime Minister agrees to hand over power to rebels. Syria's former Prime Minister has agreed to hand over power to the rebel forces in a Damascus meeting ending over 50 years of the Bashar al-Assad regime. And these are today's headlines. It's now time for Busan Updates, so let's greet Sue once again to the airwaves. Good morning.
Good morning.
All right, so before we get started, I'm very curious as to what you, Sue, would want to donate to the Nobel Museum. I mean, thinking about it kind of makes you excited, does it not?
Yes, but at the same time, this is so unexpected. So I was trying so hard. Yes, I cannot throw away plastic containers. So I have a pile of collection at home, quite a bit.
Plastic containers.
Yes.
Plastic 통. So
Yes, from like salads or whatnot. I'm trying to care for the environment.
So you saved everything.
Yes, not everything. But if I were to present anything, then that would be my oldest plastic container.
The oldest?
Yes.
You would donate to the museum?
Yeah. Saying that I've been using this forever.
And I'm so curious, which category did you win the Nobel Prize for?
Right.
Literature?
It's like regarding...
Do we need to make a new category? Environment?
Right, environment.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
So that would be perfect, though, to really encapsulate why, who you are. Oh, the plastic container.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you for sharing. We're going to jump into our first update, and this is about isolated youth, socially withdrawn youth, right here in Busan.
Yes. So isolated youth means socially disconnected individuals aged 19 to 39.
Okay.
And this also includes NEET youth, meaning not in education, employment, or retraining.
Ah, yes. So thanks for explaining at least who this covers. But, what's the proportion of isolated youth in our city?
Right. According to the survey on the status of isolated and withdrawn youth published by the Korean Institute for Health and Social Affairs, 한국보건사회연구원, as of last year, isolated and withdrawn youth in Busan accounted for 6.9%. That is the second highest after the metropolitan area.
Yes.
Seoul is 25.3%.
I see. So tell us more about these isolated youth.
Right. Reclusive loners are difficult to identify because of their hidden nature. So it's very challenging to find out their exact numbers.
Sure.
However, 2022 survey by the Busan Welfare Development Institute estimated that the number of reclusive loners in Busan ranges from 7,500 to as many as 22,500.
Wow. Okay. So that's quite a range.
Yes.
Right. So tell us more about isolated youth.
So 52.2% of them began experiencing isolation or withdrawal in their 20s, and 28.6% of them remained isolated for 3 to 5 years or longer. This indicates that isolation is not confined to a specific period, but can persist across different stages of life.
So it starts quite young in their 20s and it continues. The number does dip down a little bit. So how's the city trying to tackle this issue?
There's a growing need for proactive measures to address isolation among youth in its early stages. However, most local governments lack tailored strategies for isolated youth. Unlike Seoul, Gyeonggi, Daegu, or Gwangju, Busan currently does not have a single support center dedicated to assisting isolated youth.
Yes. So programs I hear integrating even the youth who are reclusive loners and also, but the middle age, they are currently in place right now. But are they effective? Are they not? What's going on that front?
Yes. So in July 2021, the city enacted the support ordinance for reclusive loners, but it addresses both youth and middle-aged individuals together. So analysts argue that it limits its effectiveness in resolving the specific issues faced by isolated youth.
And so if you can tell us more about why they maybe aren't so effective.
Right. The needs of these two groups differ very much. While youth-focused initiatives aim for resocialization and re-employment, middle-aged individuals tend to require support for health and daily life management.
I see.
So these programs increase the likelihood of youth being marginalized in policy efforts. As a result, such an approach is ineffective as a solution for isolated youth who require long-term counseling and case management to guide them toward resocialization.
I see.
Experts have emphasized the urgent need for local governments to implement proactive measures, such as establishing support centers for isolated youth and providing activity subsidies to help them build social connections and reintegrate them into society.
I think that's really important, the last part, reintegrating them into society so they can be healthy, functioning people. All right, let's move on to our second item. There will be a self-driving robot agricultural field demonstration in Gangseogu at a farmhouse on the 12th. So can you explain what this is and what's going to happen?
Yes. Busan 농업기술센터, Busan Agricultural Technology Center announced the trial performance of autonomous robots in the fields on the 12th.
Okay.
So this demonstration was organized to showcase the results of the Smart Agriculture Technology pilot project projects, including the unmanned pest control system and the smart farm worker following transport robot, which were implemented with an investment of 150 million won across 6 farms. So about 40 people will attend the event, including young farmers who implemented the pilot projects, interested farmers, and center officials. The event will feature presentations on project results, live demonstrations, sharing of outcomes, and listening to feedback from farmers. A detailed on-site evaluation of the pilot projects will also take place.
I see. Well, how are these robots going to help our farmers and increase efficiency, literally like in the field?
Yes, so I mentioned 2 pilot projects.
Okay.
The first one is 연동 온실 상하 흔들식 무인 방제 시스템 보급 시범 사업. It's linked greenhouse up and down shaking unmanned pest control system. So it reduces labor and operational costs through autonomous shaking pesticide application.
Okay.
And the pesticide application rate of conventional methods is below 30%. But this system achieves a pesticide application rate of over 98%.
Ah, okay. So it goes drastically, yes.
Yes. And the pest control time is reduced by more than 50%. And second pilot is called Worker Following Transport Robot, 스마트팜 작업자 추종 운반 로봇 시범 사업. It's an autonomous driving robot capable of carrying up to 300 kilograms, and it can work continuously for over 8 hours on a single charge. So by automating the transportation of heavy loads and repetitive tasks, the daily workload will increase from 200 kilograms to 580 kilograms, while reducing the required workforce from 6 to 3 people.
Wow. So this demonstration event is definitely going to be really important to see if we can, improve the convenience and efficiency in farming. Very important, right? Lastly, we hear that the Busan Social Economy Center is holding a special event for the end of the year.
Yes, 부산경제진흥원 and 국민연금공단 National Pension Service are collaborating to host an eco-friendly pop-up market event, actually today, tomorrow, from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. at MPS Busan headquarters lobby. So it's an eco-friendly pop-up market of socio-economic enterprises that sells eco-friendly products and use packaged materials that could minimize waste.
Okay.
There will be companies that utilize leftover leather to make card cases, create goods from used placard or banners, and produce approved eco-friendly cosmetic products. So consumers can experience unpackaged goods, smaller portion items, and various eco-friendly activities.
Well, you mentioned that it's today and tomorrow. So do we have details on the events for each day?
Yes. So for today, on the 10th, small and medium-sized business owners are selling ESG products and offering coupons, and there will be 가치담아보장 협업 collaboration. Sorry. There will also hold many events for products promotion, drawing events for giveaway items. In addition, people can make Christmas ornaments made out of coffee grounds. Coffee bag. It's free, but you need to apply in advance. Actually, the deadline for application is closed.
What about for tomorrow?
Yes, there will be 연금인의 장터, 가치마켓, 가치담아보장 공동마켓. So throughout 2 days, people can also participate 장바구니, the shopping basket event, where people donate their extra grocery bags, and people who need bags, they can take them for themselves.
Yes.
So a lot of sharing is happening.
Yes. So it sounds like a lot of fun. For those of you who are keen on going, make sure you take your own bags to carry the items. So
Right.
that is what we're talking about. Thank you for Busan Updates. We'll check in with you tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you.
Everybody, this was Sue, and I'll be back in just a moment. And now it is time for your traffic and weather. So there is some backup on the Dongso overpass from Pumnikor ramp to the old Kaegum Tollgate. Also, a traffic building on Nakdong-Namno from Hadan intersection to Hagwon Bridge. Also looking quite slow on Pyeonglo, going out of the city from the Wondong ramp. As for the weather, it's currently 2 degrees Celsius under clear skies. The daytime high will go up just a little to 10 degrees Celsius, but it may feel colder due to the wind chill. And there is a dry weather special alert in place over Busan. Looking across the nation, morning lows in the negatives across Gangwon and the central parts of the country, with daytime highs going up to 6 to 12 degrees Celsius across the nation, depending on where you are. This was your traffic and weather.
Are you an early bird? Are you up to date on the news? Are you a trendsetter? For all of the biggest issues from Busan to the world and useful information you need, right here on Morning Wave in Busan.
It's now time to check in with Haley for News Digest. Good morning.
Good morning.
Hey, so before we dive into all the serious, hard-hitting news, we got to ask you about the whole Nobel Prize museum thing. So,
I mean, if they make a category for incessant talking, I'm really gonna.
You're gonna win.
I'm gonna nominate myself. But speaking of which, 2 things that allow me to talk incessantly here. Basically, like a part of me. Number 1 is this. It's my seat cushion, which I forgot to actually.
nice
Yes,
segue.
thank you.
Real
I
natural.
forgot to.
Yes,
there we
yes.
go.
Okay.
You can see my face. It's not being
And
covered.
now you're a giant. You tower over me. Great.
Because I think our producers set the camera
Yes.
with me not on the cushion. Can you reset so I'm normal?
Okay,
Thank you. I do like to make you do your job twice. And then second is my laptop. My very well-loved, well-worn,
your RAM
gross. Because it used to have a G.
But we don't
it fell
advertise,
off.
right? It
We
fell
don't
off.
have. Well, I
And
know.
you didn't
I didn't
like
scratch
scrape it off, right?
but I don't take good care of stuff. And you can kind of see. There's like, if you look really closely, there's
Is
like
that
a
like
faint
a
coffee
coffee
mark. Yes,
line?
there is.
That's
There
coffee,
is,
like,
yeah.
residue on her
And
laptop.
I'm gonna open it, and this is I don't know. Do I have an image here anymore? But like, look at how very well loved the keypads are. Yeah, Cat's like disgusting.
I'm just like-
it's washed. I do wash the cover. It's just
brown.
it's well
Well-worn.
well worn. It's well loved. It's
Yes.
This is how much I work, you guys. My keypads are brown for me. Yeah. And my
Yes.
hands are clean, I swear. I think. Yeah.
Okay, well, we got to dive into some serious news. We're going to go on and talk about the ongoing martial law aftermath. We are seeing for the first time ever a case of a sitting president being named and a suspect in an ongoing criminal case.
Right. So the prosecution special investigation headquarters, 특수본, said that it has booked President Yoon Suk-yeol, without detention, of course, as a suspect of treason linked to the martial law declaration. And this is, as you said, the first time that a sitting president has become a suspect. So the question is then, how will this affect our country? How the country is run?
Yes.
Well, if you do remember back on Saturday, President Yoon Suk-yeol did say in his apology that he will not evade legal and political responsibility. So that means he will likely comply with the investigation if he does live up to what he said. And experts say that once the investigation against the president begins in full, it then puts the presidential office and his residence under the scope of a potential search and seizure.
Well, what about the president himself and the questioning that he will inevitably have to face?
Right, so that really depends on how the prosecution, the police, or the CIO, 공수처, whomever will be in charge of that investigation will proceed.
Right.
So if the president isn't detained and has to go into the prosecution for questioning, or the prosecution could visit him, then at least once that happens, it won't affect his duties all that much because it'll last hours, about a full day, but he won't be detained.
Okay.
However, the opposition party, Democratic Party in particular, it's been calling for Yoon to be detained during the course of the investigation. and some within the ruling party, they don't agree, but they say at least they should prepare for such a case.
Okay.
So once that happens, if the president is unable to perform his duties, then we have to look at the Constitution, Article 71.
Which says what?
Which says if the office of the presidency is vacant or the president is unable to perform his or her duties for any reason, then the prime minister or the members of the state council in the order of priority will act or shall act as him or her. So basically as president. In Korean that says 대통령이 거류되거나, that means vacant. 사고로 인해 직무를 수행할 수 없을 때는 국무총리 법률이 정한 국무위원 순으로 그 권한을 대행한다. So we may see for the first time ever, the president actively there, not removed from office, but the prime minister or someone else stepping in for him.
That leaves a vacuum.
It does.
Well, this brings us to the president saying that he will step back and let the ruling party take over governance. But I mean, the question is, how is this going to work? Is it even possible?
Right. So President Yoon said that governance and state affairs will be in the hands of the party and the government, so that he will take kind of a secondary role, 이선, right? But the thing is, there's no legal or constitutional ground for this.
Yes.
So this now, it's being seen by pundits as more of a political statement, and we're kind of already seeing the statement fall apart. So what I mean is, for number one, President Yoon did approve the resignation submitted by Interior Minister Lee Sang-min.
Right.
And this happened just a day after he said he'll step back as president.
True.
But he exercised his powers of president in accepting these personnel resignations.
Sure.
But then again, in the same afternoon, the National Intelligence Service, 국정원, announced that Oh Ho-ryong has replaced Hong Jang-won as a first vice minister level official.
Okay.
Usually the presidential office makes these announcements, but because President Yoon is technically, he said he would step back, the NIS wound up making this announcement. So we're kind of seeing two different ways that this is playing out already. And then lastly, the military yesterday confirmed that President Yoon is still the commander-in-chief, 군통수권자. So he is in charge of the military. And he has to be. Constitutionally, right.
Well, what about the investigation into Yoon? What do we know?
Right. So once again, he has been named a suspect in the martial law declaration case for treason and abuse of authority. So he has been banned from leaving the country. And although he did say he'll step back, that really makes any diplomatic trips or diplomatic duties impossible.
Okay.
And then in the arrest warrant for ex-defense minister Kim Yong-hyun that you just talked about, the warrant actually says that Kim colluded with President Yoon to commit treason. So at least in the eyes of the prosecution, they see President Yoon Suk-yeol as being at the center of the treason charges, with former Minister Kim as a major operator.
Yes.
So ultimately, naturally, that investigation will head towards Yongsan and the president.
Indeed. Well, let's move on to the economic fallout from this martial law imposition. Now, although the martial law order itself was short-lived, we talked about it, people are beginning to see the economic impact of all of this.
Especially if you live abroad. That's been the thing. If you are working abroad from a Korean company, so 취재원, or if you are an international student or your child is an international student. So this particular case, one employee of a South Korean corporation in Poland said that they saw the currency go up by 2.5% in an hour and a half. And here's the thing. If you are an employee of a South Korean company and working for a branch abroad, you get paid in the Korean won. And then you have to exchange that for the local currency and spend it. My family did that, and we lived in Indonesia. And then the IMF happened. The Asian financial crisis happened. We wound up coming back to South Korea because, well, there was just no money to spend. So this is the same logic for airlines. And airlines lease their aircrafts or planes. And also, they have to pay for fuel. That also gets paid in dollars. And we know how expensive that has been.
Yes.
Investors, those of us sitting here in Korea, that we're also seeing losses as the Kospi has gone down by nearly 72 points in 3 days. And also overall in 4 days, 4 business days since martial law declaration, the market value collectively for Kospi and Kosdaq disappeared by 144 trillion won. For reference, that is the market value of SK Hynix. That's equal to the market value of SK Hynix. So
Wow.
we're seeing kind of the loss of, what would amount to the second biggest company in South Korea kind of disappear in the stock market.
Yes. So we have a better visual in our head. So, and this definitely affects spending and demand.
Right. So tourism, actually both for people trying to take trips abroad for the end of the year and also international tourists coming in.
Yes.
So with the Korean won plummeting in the currency market, some people have had to cancel their overseas trips or at least exchange less or have to make budgets for this. Also, governments around the world, they have issued travel advisories for South Korea given the political situation. And this has led to some people canceling their trips into Korea.
Right.
Businesses in politically sensitive areas. So we're talking about areas like Yongsan and Yeouido, which often see protests happen even right now. Say their end of the year parties like the 회식, 송년회, those parties, the reservations have gotten canceled. And impeachments, by the way, historically, they do, and political turmoil, they do play a part in demand and spending. Sure. According to the Bank of Korea, when the when the impeachment for President Roh Moo-hyun was happening, that was in the first quarter of 2004, they saw the increase in spending in the civic center. It actually went down by 0.1%.
I see.
During impeachment for ex-President Park Geun-hye, spending rates increase saw a 0.6% and 0.2%, and those are drops compared to the two previous quarters.
Yes, and you might be thinking, what's 0.1%? It makes all the difference.
It is quite a bit.
Yes,
right?
yes. All right, for now, though, we're going to turn to Syria for this story. Syrians have poured out onto the streets to celebrate the end of this, 13-year civil war. However, the international community is watching the situation very cautiously. So what are the major concerns?
Right, because the thing is, this happened very rapidly. So just give you numbers. We're talking about 50 years of the Assad rule, father and son.
Yes.
13 years of a civil war, and then 2 weeks of rebels suddenly coming up and the turning tides in the civil war. And in one day, they took the capital, Damascus. So when that happens, there's a power vacuum. We really don't know who's in charge. There are no systems in place because the country's been ravaged by 13 years of civil war.
Yes, yes.
And then we're looking at more than 500,000 people killed and 6 million others becoming refugees in the civil war.
Sure, sure. So the group to look to is called HTS. What can you tell us about this group?
Right. So in terms of the biggest question, so who's in charge?
Yes.
Well, the group that led the rebel forces into Damascus. This is an Islamist militant group, Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, abbreviated to HTS. They're the ones that seized Aleppo, the second biggest city last week, and made their way into the capital. This is made possible by two factors, pundits say. Two forces that back the Assad regime, Russia and Iran, kind of otherwise occupied with Russia's war in Ukraine and Iran supporting Hezbollah and Hamas and that situation going on. They haven't been able to focus on Syria. They hadn't been able to really funnel support for the Assad regime.
Okay.
And then Turkey, which sits to the north of Syria and supports some of the rebel forces in Syria, they deny backing HTS, but they kind of gave their blessing, apparently, to not stop HTS from making these advances.
Okay.
But here's the thing about HTS, though. What we should know, they have their roots in Al-Qaeda.
That Al-Qaeda.
That Al-Qaeda behind 9/11. So it naturally has a violent past. But in the past 8 years or so, it's been trying to rebrand itself as being more moderate, being more nationalist. But as you said, a power vacuum, it's there. It never lasts long. And there are concerns about multiple players trying to step into that power vacuum.
Yes. So there are also other international forces, though, at play here in this region.
Right. Because what to know about Syria is that it sits at a very strategic part in the Middle East.
Sure.
It is a land bridge for Russia to gain access to the Mediterranean. And for Iran, it's been using Syria as a land route to get its resources to Hezbollah in Lebanon. And then we have Western forces stepping in to prevent extremist groups from taking over, including Israel, which has conducted over 100 airstrikes in Syria, and the U.S. against ISIS or Islamic State targets.
Yes, yes. So that's what's going on in Syria. And of course, we've heard that Bashar Bashar al-Assad has gotten asylum, he and his
Right,
family
right.
in Russia. So that's the latest. Thank you for all the news. We'll check in with you in hour number 2. Everybody, this was Haley. And now it's time to get to our first song break. So how about this one? The Winner Takes It All by ABBA.
I don't wanna talk about things we've gone through, though it's hurting me. Now it's history. I played all my cards, and that's what you've done too. Nothing more to say, no more race to play. The winner takes it all, the loser standing small beside the victory. That's her destiny. I was in your arms, thinking I belonged there. I figured it made sense, building me a fence, building me a home, thinking I'd be strong there, but I was a fool, laying by the rules. The gods make wrong with dice, their minds as cold as ice, and someone way down here loses someone dear. The winner takes it all, the loser has to fall. It's simple and it's plain, why should I complain? But tell me, does she kiss like I used to kiss you? Does it feel the same when she calls your name? Somewhere deep inside, you must know I miss you. But what can I say? Rules must be obeyed. The judges will decide, the likes of me abide. Spectators of the show always stay alone. The game is on again, a lover or a friend, a big thing or a small, the winner takes it all. I don't wanna talk if it makes you feel sad, and I understand. You've come to shake my hand. I apologize if it makes you feel bad, seeing me so tense, no self-confidence. But you see, the winner takes it all. The winner takes it all.
All right, listeners, so we've been talking about the whole deal with the Nobel Prize and what you would donate to the museum, the Nobel Museum. What would you donate? So aside from, okay, I'm going to just read one and get to Cat's Pick real quick. So Leslie says, I would either donate my copy of Wuthering Heights by Emily Bronte because I read it for the first time in the 6th grade and it was the gateway to other classic literature. That's a great pick. I think it would be perfect for the Nobel Museum. But for now, we're going to get to Cat's Pick. For today's Cat's Pick, trigger warning, not a happy story. So it's about sexual assault of a 13-year-old allegedly by Jay-Z. Here is a clip from Good Morning America.
To the bombshell accusation against Jay-Z, a woman claiming the hip-hop mogul joined Sean Diddy Combs in sexually assaulting her when she was just 13 years old. Jay-Z is vehemently denying the accusation.
New allegations this morning leveled against rapper Jay-Z, also known as Sean Carter, accusing him of sexually assaulting a then 13-year-old girl with Sean Diddy Combs after the VMAs in 2000. The new amended civil lawsuit, originally filed by a Jane Doe in October, identifies celebrity A as Jay-Z, claiming that he and Diddy drugged and raped a 13-year-old girl at an after-party and that another celebrity stood by and watched as Combs and Carter took turns assaulting the minor. Combs and Jay-Z both attended the award show that year. Jay-Z, who was 31 at the time, is now a multi-platinum Grammy winner and business mogul who's reached the highest heights of the rap industry.
Yeah, I said it, we are. This is Rock Nation. Pledge your allegiance.
Jay-Z is vehemently denying the allegations, writing, "This is a blackmail attempt," taking direct aim at the plaintiff's attorney, Tony Busby, saying what he had calculated was the nature of these allegations and the public scrutiny would make me want to settle, going on to say the claims are idiotic, and noting the impact this has had on his wife, music icon Beyonce, and their 3 children. "My wife and I will have to sit our children down, one of whom is at the age where her friends will surely see the press and ask questions about the nature of these claims." Jay-Z challenges Busby to change the civil lawsuit to a criminal complaint. But Busby is standing his ground, writing, "I won't be bullied or intimidated. People will see through this effort to discredit me and my clients, and the truth will be revealed. I also won't allow anyone to scare my clients into silence."
For Jay-Z, the question is, what is next? And for him, it's going to be fighting this civil lawsuit and either trying to get Jane Doe to name herself, provide any evidence that these allegations are true, or fight them based on the facts that he has.
So many people were curious about this story from the get-go, meaning who were the celebrities that were allegedly named initially? And so I keep on saying allegedly because it hasn't been proven yet. So allegedly, it's one of them at least is Jay-Z. This was Cat's Pick for today. It is time for Sports Insider, Sports. Andrew. I was trying to give you a nice intro, but no. You win the Nobel Prize in what? What would you win the Nobel Prize in if you had to pick a category?
Patience.
Patience is a virtue. It is. Hey, so what would you donate to the Nobel Museum?
Oh, that's a good question. I think that's kind
What
of
do you
like...
call it, your toque?
Yeah, my toque. My toque. No, I don't know. That is a really good question.
I have a good one.
Yeah, okay.
Your
facial
facial hair.
Your scarf.
No, not my scarf. Your facial hair that you
my
shave
mustache.
Off. Yeah.
Okay.
End of November.
And then, like, after so many years, they could make like an art piece out of it.
Yeah.
Maybe. Okay, that's a
'Cause
good
you're hairy,
one.
yeah.
I don't know. I think it would have to be something like that. I have worked on for a significant amount of time.
Leslie says,
yeah.
Andrew's winter fashion is Nobel worthy.
Oh, also, the comments about Wuthering Heights. I like how she said read that in the 6th grade. I read that in the 12th grade, and that caused me nightmares for half of a semester. So there's a difference in opinion on that one.
Okay, on that one?
But
Okay.
fantastic book nonetheless.
Yes.
All right. So we are here for sports. We're going to talk about Tottenham Hotspur. And,
I said off air, I was like, do we have to do this story?
I believe if you were to, if a dictionary was only like a picture dictionary, and it was like a definition of capitulation,
Yes.
there'd be a picture of Tottenham from the weekend.
Just,
I watched the majority of this game.
I stopped watching.
I was up late.
Yes.
And they're up 2-0 after the first 12 minutes, I think it was. After two really interesting mistakes by Mark Cucurella from Chelsea, and which caused him to throw his boots into the trash and put new ones on, which is kind of funny. It's an interesting photo on X. But yeah, so Tottenham ended up suffering a dramatic 4-3 defeat to Chelsea after I just said pretty much capitulating in the second half.
They were up.
It was unbelievable. But it was really interesting. After Chelsea scored their first goal to make it 2-1.
Yes.
I don't know. Maybe it's just because I've seen this movie too many times, but I could just see Chelsea pulling it back. And then it was, so the Jadon Sancho goal to start it, then 2 penalties by Cole Palmer, but not just 2 penalties. He did a Panenka, which is like he just barely hit the ball, put it in the middle of the net. And then, it was everything was capped off by Enzo Fernandez. It was, I don't know.
It was bad.
Something to just forget.
Question.
Yeah.
Ange.
Yeah, Big Ange. People are saying his job. He's on a chopping block. I don't know. A lot of people said before going into this game it was win or bust for Ange Postecoglou. Now, I don't know. I just feel it's very one-dimensional, his style of play. Now, people do say that, he's not on the field. But, if you put your car in drive, you're only going in one direction a lot of times, right? And that's where he's at this point. He's got one gear, his coaching style or managerial style.
But you can't just blame it on him. They've had how many coaches, managers?
But also, they probably could have been 4 or 5-0
Yes.
up within 30 or 35 minutes.
They missed.
So
They missed.
I mean, I don't know. So there is a lot of people out there, a lot of pundits who are saying that he is on the chopping block. Now, I do think that if this weekend was an international break, it might be different. They may have pulled the trigger already and jumped to a new manager. That's my personal opinion. If not, they're in it for the long haul. And I don't know. There's a lot of Spurs fans who aren't happy, but I don't know. It's still more exciting than watching some of the other old managers.
Okay, well, let's move on to some. Do we have any happy sports news?
This is good. This is something that I was looking forward to on the weekend.
Yeah,
so I was looking forward to this on the weekend, especially all the news that we had here in Korea over the last week. And this involves the Korean Superboy, Chae Do-ho, and we're going to the UFC for this. It was the UFC 310. This is a fight on the main card, the opener. This was against Nate Landwehr. Now, going into this here, this was his third fight after doing his military service. And going into his military service, he was on a losing streak. And a lot of people thought, wow, is this the downfall of the Korean Superboy, who a lot of people had high hopes for in the featherweight division.
Sure.
And then he came back. There was a draw in his first fight, but this is his second win in a row after his 3-year hiatus. Now, from the start, he was dominating. He's come back. I don't know if it is he's a more powerful fighter or going to the military service has done wonders for his job.
Oh, okay.
Or for his skills, but he just looks like a more determined fighter. And I really don't think the other guy really stood a chance for this whole thing. He went on to say he felt amazing in this, and he led it right from the get-go.
Okay.
And then, also, he at the end of it, he called out another fighter who also won on the night, Bryce Mitchell, who later on in the post press conference he said, I want this fight. So it's something that we can look forward to. It was his second fight of the year, second win of the year, a good way to cap it off and also to look forward into next year. But I wanted to play a clip, and this is when he was in the Octagon being interviewed by Joe Rogan. And this is what he had to say. Let's get to the clip.
All right, first of all, he's not here, but I want to thank one of the best coaches in Korea, Coach Yang from Team at Busan. And also a big shout out to Korean Zombie, Dongho and Youngin for supporting me throughout the camp. And my wife as well, she's been a big help throughout the 8 week of camp. And I have a second child coming up. My first daughter, son Choi, and then a second one coming up as well. I want to dedicate this fight to my second child.
Congratulations, sir. Duho Choi, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, pretty amazing.
Congrats.
Yeah,
He
it
has
was
another baby on the way.
It's pretty awesome. So, I think I don't want to say there hasn't been a lot to cheer about for the Koreans in the UFC for a while, but this is something to look forward to. And I think that if they do make this fight, it'll probably be in April or May. So we'll keep our eyes
spring.
open for that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So exciting.
And hopefully it's at a big event, not like just a fight night.
Right. And also, like, a lot of our listeners, apparently they watch because they're like commenting, saying,
Yeah.
"Oh, it was a good win."
Yeah, it was pretty fantastic.
Yes. Well, I hear you have something a little different.
This is something
A
like
little different.
You know when you're like, I don't know, I'm looking through the news trying to find something interesting to bring.
Yes.
And this is one of those things that kind of jumped off the page, if you will. So do you remember from the Olympics, and there was the Australian breakdancer, Rachel
Yes.
Gunn, who was, had her signature, kangaroo hop in the breakdancing
And
competition.
then, like, on the floor, like,
He is
on her
spinning
side.
around.
And
Everyone thought it was just her just making fun of the whole thing. There's a lot of people who were
She was serious about it.
Very serious, because she said that she was unable to beat the people that were at the top of the food chain, if you will. Well, it was really interesting. There was a parody musical about the Olympic breakdancer.
seriously?
Was abruptly canceled just hours before its Sydney debut.
Why?
After her legal team threatened action. So creator Stephanie Broadbridge revealed on the gram that Gunn's lawyers were concerned about potential brand damage and trademark infringement.
Let's slow down on that. So, number one, she has a brand.
Well, yes, but also what trademark?
And,
this
like-
is what I want to know. So,
And I'm not trying to be mean, but can it be damaged further?
yeah, so the musical, originally titled Ray Gun, the
Yes.
musical, was set to explore Gunn's viral Olympic performance, where she famously scored 0 points in her breakdancing rounds. Now, Broadbridge emphasized that her intention was to celebrate Gunn, not harm her reputation. Now, Gunn's legal team claimed they were protecting her intellectual property, particularly objecting to her use of her signature, air quotes, signature kangaroo hop dance move. I don't know. Now, the show's tickets priced at $10 Australian will be refunded, and the proceeds were originally meant to support a woman's charity. So, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. It just sounds a bit of a farce to me. Now,
Yes.
Broadbridge plans to revive the show with a modified name and storyline, maintaining her support for Gunn despite the legal challenges.
Oh, goodness.
No, she's already in, like, not the best of light for what happened. I think this was also her chance to take the high road and be like, oh, yeah, okay, like, everyone's having a laugh. Everyone has been having a laugh. Now, I don't know, so I'm just saying, anybody out there with young children, please be aware that if they're doing, what animal is this? And they're hopping around like a kangaroo, Gunn's legal team could be coming out for you.
Intellectual property.
Yeah, there you go.
You never
Trademarked.
know. Be careful.
Yeah.
Is the moral of the story.
Yeah,
We're going to call it a wrap
was
for
one
today.
One of those things.
Really funny. Next time, let's not talk about Tottenham. How about that?
Yeah, they need to hop
Out of there.
Yeah.
Well, we'll check in with you next week. You fashionista, you.
Bye-bye.
All right, everybody. This is Andrew. Final song for our number one, 만만하니 by You Kiss Enjoy. I'll be back at 8.
나와의 추억이 내 만만하니 그렇게 모든 게 다 만만하니 뜨거운 사랑 나를 원해 baby girl 차가운 손길 나를 주는 bad girl 그자란 자존심은 다 갖다 버려 약올리고 약올려 날 자꾸 better stop now 나 완전 덜 것 같아 너 때문에 girl 착한 척한 내게 얼떨결에 난 모든 걸 다 주고 또
부산영어방송.
부산의 축제 어디까지 즐겨보셨나요? 과거와 현재, 미래가 공존하는 항구도시 부산.
어린이가 안전한 부산을 만드는 은행, B&K 부산은행과 함께합니다.
We are
the firefighter duo.
Winter is so dry. Let's prevent fire by keeping these 3 rules. If you take caution, you can prevent a fire.
The number one cause of fire in winter are electric blankets. Take special caution with highly flammable materials such as memory foam, toppers, and bedding.
Number 2, having too many appliances on the power outlet is dangerous. Always unplug all the appliances that you're not currently using.
Number 3, check the heater is off before leaving the house. Leaving it on for an extended period of time can cause a fire.
Let's all take part in preventing fire and have warm and safe winter this year.
Tune into BEFM 부산영어방송 for an emergency broadcast.
This campaign is brought to you by BEFM 부산영어방송.
지역 경제가 힘차게 출발합니다. 기업들이 고객을 향해 더 빨리 가려면 방송 광고라는 엑셀을 밟으세요. 경제도 기업도 더 힘차게 달려가니까요. 방송 광고의 작은 힘, 경제의 큰 힘입니다. 부산 방송광고발전협의회.
The time is now 8 o'clock.
Good morning, Dynamic Busan.
Yeah, you're waking up. Time to shake it up. Tell the world good morning and find out what's going on.
Well, hi there, folks. There's everything from comedy to lively chat to music.
Broadcasting from a room about the size of your closet.
All calls are recorded. What show is this?
Live from Korea's dynamic city, this is Morning Wave in Busan.
I'm sorry, who'd you say you were?
It is now 8 o'clock, and this is News Highlights. President Yoon placed under travel ban. President Yoon Suk-yeol became the first president to be placed under a travel ban pending treason investigation related to his short-lived imposition of martial law last week. The Justice Ministry confirmed that it has imposed the ban following a request by the Corruption Investigation Office for High-Ranking Officials, or CIO. In the meantime, the opposition Democratic Party, or DP, has proposed a special counsel bill to investigate the insurrection allegations, naming Yoon along with the Prime Minister, ruling party floor leader, the ex-defense minister, and a handful of top military officials in the bill. Prosecution requests arrest warrant for ex-defense minister. Prosecutors have requested an arrest warrant for former defense minister Kim Yong-hyun to investigate his alleged role in President Yoon Suk-yeol's martial law declaration. Prosecutors said they are seeking the warrant over concerns that Kim, a key suspect who proposed martial law to Yoon, might attempt to flee or tamper with evidence, given that he changed his mobile phone after the martial law announcement last night. Kim reportedly conceded during questioning that he proposed martial law to Yoon, but claimed that his actions were neither illegal nor unconstitutional. Police to summon counterintelligence chief and ex-interior minister. The police will summon the head of the Defense Counterintelligence Command, DCC, Lieutenant General Yeo In-hyung, and ex-interior minister Lee Sang-min as suspects in the martial law case. Earlier in the day, prosecutors raided the DCC headquarters, among other locations, as the DCC has been named as a key institution in the martial law declaration, reportedly sending troops and personnel to the National Assembly and the National Election Commission. Yeo, who was suspended from his duties last week, has denied the allegations, claiming the DCC had not been made aware of the plans for martial law in advance. PPP to elect new floor leader amid martial law turmoil. The ruling People Power Party, or PPP, said yesterday it will elect a new floor leader Thursday to replace Chu Kyung-ho, who stepped down after the impeachment motion against President Yoon was scrapped from a lack of quorum. A new floor leader would be burdened with coming up with a unified party line on the president's impeachment motion and various special counsel probe bills against the first couple. The party remains split over the so-called orderly retreat of President Yoon. Despite multiple meetings among party leadership and lawmakers yesterday, the ruling party has not reached a conclusion on the specific timeline nor the method for the president's retreat. Syrian Prime Minister agrees to hand over power to rebels. Syria's former Prime Minister has agreed to hand over power to rebel forces in a Damascus meeting ending over 50 years of the Assad regime. Bashar al-Assad's removal was met with jubilation by Syrians at home and abroad, as rebels have been freeing prisoners from underground prisons. Tens of thousands of people have reportedly been freed in the last 10 days. Several European nations have suspended asylum cases from Syria, and Austria signaled that it will deport refugees back to Syria soon. And this was News Highlights. It's time for issue waglwa글. And I have to say, I love reading the comments. Like every time I get a chance, I read the comments on, especially on our NoTube in the chat room. People nominating each other.
Yeah, we have awards going on.
Yeah, there's an award ceremony going on as we speak. Like Gosu says, 저는 노력상 마음에 들어요. Apparently, another waiver, 도토리님, nominated him for that. And I was thinking, like, some of the waivers out here who very much kind of, they lay it all out there. They're very open about their lives. And so, like, Best Father Award, Nobel Award goes to, I think, a bunch of guys out there.
I think so.
Like Taejin and, like, Gosu, Tommy, etc. All the dads out there.
Should we do an end of the year award for Morning Wave in Busan?
Yes. So
should we?
We'll get that going.
And
she's ignoring us
I know
again.
someone's trying to really, really massively avoid eye
Eye contact.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to jump into our first story. So English language dictionaries select their, respective words of the year in South Korea. The Association of University Professors, they do this.
Right. So we don't really have private dictionaries in South Korea. I mean, we have portal sites, but then we have the official 국립국어, the Korea Language Association. They don't really pick a word of the year. But the Association of Professors and their newspaper, 교수신문, they do this 사자성어, the four-letter, four-syllable, the ancient phrase that describes the state of affairs for the year. And this was selected by the paper after a survey of 1,086 professors.
Wait, I'm scared. Do I need to brace myself?
I am scared too. So
Okay.
keep in mind that we are just the messenger.
We're just reporting.
Always.
Okay, what is it?
This doesn't reflect our opinion, but it's 도량발호. Also the time of year where we learn new words.
Okay.
This means goes about recklessly wielding authority. 제멋대로 권력을 부리며 함부로 날뛴다. The professor who nominated this phrase, a psychology professor at Chungang University, Jung Tae-yeon, said that those in power act as if they themselves are the source of such power. What's really interesting, though, is that this survey took place before December 3rd, so before martial law imposition.
Okay.
So, right. But in the most recent statement, this Professor Chung, said that the crooked power must wake up from being drunk from such power. And it's chilling that such barbaric acts referring to martial law could happen in 21st century South Korea.
Okay.
Second and third place phrases also reflect on the state of affairs, and they're quite political depending on how you take it.
Okay.
Is 후안무치, second place, which I've heard this one before, shameless and thick-skinned. And in third place is 석서워려, which means, and this is the phrase, a big-headed and arrogant rat that muddles the nation. Right, so it's they're not holding back.
They are not.
One way or another.
So at least this group of over 1,000 professors, they have chosen.
Spoken.
Yes. Very loud. All right, up next, the economy is changing a lot of our spending habits, including our daily coffee runs. Has this affected any of you out there, by the way?
Right. Show of hands. How do you where do you get your coffee in the morning?
I don't really cut down.
Yeah, do you drink the stick?
I drink
sometimes.
the stick in the morning.
Yes.
The coffee mix in the morning. And then I have one at 9 a.m. and that's it.
All right.
So I drink real coffee too, not just the
real
the
coffee
stick
and fake coffee.
Yes.
I make my own coffee, but that's also gotten really expensive, and we'll get to that.
Okay.
So are you a Americano fan, latte? Do you get takeout coffee, or do you drink mixed coffee?
All of the
Do you
above.
make your own?
Yes.
So with the emergence and really popularity of these cheaper coffee takeout places,
Yes.
a lot of people have been buying coffee in recent years. So with that, sales for the Korean mixed coffee, the stick coffee, 믹스커피, sales have been declining. We're seeing about 2 to 3% decline every year.
Okay.
And for that, we actually look at Dongsa Coffee, the brand, because they are the brand that has about 80 to 90% market share. It's the one with the
Thing.
But last month,
Yes.
the stick coffee brand saw a 2-point increase from the same period last year. And they're looking at about a 1.8% increase in sales for the entire year.
So I can only guess it's because maybe people are trying to stick to the budget or at least spend a little less.
Right. So this is happening both on corporate and individual levels. So in terms of companies, some companies, they have budgets for on the corporate credit card for employees to go on coffee runs.
Yes.
Or they'll have espresso machines in their break room. I know.
좋겠어요.
정말. But because of the economy, they're kind of cutting back on these extra benefits.
Because those capsules are not cheap, right?
I know. Trust me, I know. Right. So the companies are kind of cutting back. And for employees who would pay out of pocket for such coffee, they can't afford it. So they're just going to the break room for the stick coffee. This is also happening in homes as well. Remember when during the beginning of the COVID pandemic, when at-home cafes were huge and we're all whipping coffee and getting our arms sore?
I remember Tommy sending in a photo? He made like a little coffee area, like on his veranda. I think.
Ooh, that was
during
the thing,
that
like with the
time.
veranda,
Yes.
right? So I still have the coffee machine I bought during that period, but. Once again, capsules are getting expensive. Coffee
Yes.
beans are also getting expensive. We blame climate change, so we blame humans for that. So people are kind of going back to stick coffee. But also there's a good news reason for this as well. The popularity of K-coffee. With foreign visitors, tourists coming in, and Korean coffee seems to be a popular souvenir to bring back.
Indeed, indeed. All right, next. Many of you have probably already begun like cranking up your electronic blankets, because it's, cold. But apparently keeping it on all night isn't good for you.
Right.
Perk up your ears.
Are you
especially-
team no electronic blanket?
No, not completely, but I don't believe, I don't want to keep it on all night.
So I don't have one. By choice, I just don't. I run hot. And we know temperature. Refer to Leon's last week's segment and the segment before. Hashtag fact check for how temperature is really important for your sleep. You need kind of cooler temperatures.
Yes.
So that constant warmth from that electronic blanket can actually hinder sleep. It can mess up with your sleep.
Right.
Prompt dehydration because you are sweating. You're sweating profusely.
Right.
And even the electromagnetic waves, 전자파, can be problematic. So this is according to research from Hanyang University professor Kim Yoon-sin's team.
Okay.
2 milligram of magnetic field from the electromagnetic waves can increase melatonin, which affects your immune system and, more importantly for sleep, biorhythm. So it messes with your sleep. 20 milligrams can increase the stress hormone cortisol and can basically get your heart pumping during sleep, and that basically has an effect of waking you up.
That's like the exact opposite of what you want to do.
It is not what you want to do during sleep. So the Environment Ministry actually recommends that you use products, and it has like a KC certification, electromagnetic field certificate of 2 mgs, 2 milligrams or lower. And then even if you do use it and you have that electronic blanket with the KC stamp on it, timing is key. Ain't it always? But you want to keep it on before you want to heat up your bed before you slide in there.
That makes sense. Nice and toasty.
Nice and toasty, and then turn it off.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Turn it off right before you fall asleep, or probably set it on a timer so it's falling off, turning off while you are falling asleep.
Yes.
And that can actually help you get better sleep. So because higher body temperature, that's why experts recommend like warm showers, warm milk. That expands your blood vessels, which releases heat out of your body. So that actually drops your body temperature, and cooler temperatures, once again, better for your sleep.
Yes.
Also, if you're like my sister and will not listen to me for about 2 decades and just keep it on all night, at least keep it at low.
Okay.
Very low, because low temperature burns are real. 저온 화상.
You can get
basically, you're cooking yourself slowly is essentially what it is. And the thing is, if you touch a scalding pot, you jump back.
Right.
It hurts. But then if you're slowly burning yourself, it doesn't hurt. So then that leads to deeper burns. So according to hospitals, doctors, 80% of low temperature burn patients end up getting skin grafts, 피부 이식, because they've damaged their cells so much that they have to scrape it off. And I hear that hurts. I hear that hurts like a word that I can't say.
Yes. Yeah. So definitely don't leave it on all night is what you're saying. Okay, I got to like save this script so I can show somebody.
I'll send it to you.
So I can show my roommate who insists on turning it on all night.
Ooh.
And hence
you're in trouble.
We have different sleeping areas. All right. For our last story, some people use colored contact lenses for like a certain look, an aesthetic. Now there is an eye drop, really, that can do this?
Don't get excited.
Okay, but experts are concerned. Okay, don't get happy.
Right.
Okay.
So earlier this week, the American Academy of Ophthalmology, AAO, they released a statement on kind of an alarm about these products being advertised as eye color changing eye drops, 안약. Right. So these products have been making rounds online, and we look at social media for that. And this could appeal to individuals who want to change up their look. but also, maybe not want to invest in colored contacts. Because, and this is a whole thing. This is a whole issue, but like green eyes, blue eyes, they can be quite popular. Hazel, yeah.
Exactly. Are they safe? And apparently it's a no.
Well, it hasn't been FDA approved. Right. So the ads show also, are they even effective? That's another question to be answered. Because as all, before and after pictures are, they're dramatic. And you can see that on our YouTube page. But then, but then they're really vague on how that works. And you really want to be careful with what you put in your eyeballs, for example.
I was going to say, you only have 2 eyeballs for your entire life.
And, we got an eyelash and I twitch like a crazy crazy and it hurts. But can you imagine putting unknown substances in your eyes?
No.
If please
it's not
don't.
approved by the FDA, no.
Right, so manufacturers, what they claim is that the eye drops include an ingredient that adjusts natural levels of melanin, the color-changing substance in the iris. But as to what that ingredient is, it's not listed. It's not named. There's no list. Right.
And why would you put anything in your eye, of all your orifices, in
all your
eye?
body parts? Right. Exactly.
No.
So, by the way, of course, middle school biology, the pigment of the eye is genetically determined.
Yes.
So if someone is doing something that causes depigmentation, because you have to take away pigment to get the lighter colored eyes, that can lead to serious inflammation, elevated pressure in the eye, and that can lead to things like glaucoma or other serious conditions that ultimately, not to raise alarm, but it can lead to blindness.
Well, we need to raise alarm if it could, right?
Yes, that's true. That's true.
Well, thank you for this. Oh, you just saved a lot of people between our eyes and our skin.
I know.
Oh, such good information.
I think so too.
You deserve the Nobel Prize in just all knowledgeable things.
All
So
of the
thank you,
above.
Haley.
Thank you. Yeah, Will. she's I don't know. Someone's not happy. But
Okay. Well, we'll check in with you tomorrow. Thank you, Haley.
Bye.
All right, now it's time for our updated traffic and weather. It's time for your updated traffic and weather. There is some congestion on 관문대로 from 수정방음 Tunnel to Baegang Tunnel right now. Also, there's some backup on 수영로 from the KBS 3-way intersection to Daenam intersection. It's looking quite slow on Mandoklo from Mandok Tunnel number 2 to Mandok intersection as well. Currently, it is 5 degrees. However, it feels more like 2 because of the wind chill factor. The daytime high will go up to 10 degrees, but remember, it might feel a little colder than that. There is a dry weather special alert in place over Busan. Across the nation, morning lows in the negative territory across Gangwon and the central parts of the country. So, depending on where you are, the daytime high will go up to 6, all the way up to 12. A big range. This was your traffic and weather.
Just hear those sleigh bells.
And this is Sleigh Ride by The Carpenters.
Come on, it's lovely weather for a sleigh ride together with you. Outside the snow is falling and friends are calling you. Come on, it's lovely weather for a sleigh ride together with you. Let's take the road before us and sing a chorus or two. Come on, it's lovely weather for a sleigh ride together with you.
Giddy up, giddy up, giddy up, let's go. Let's look at the show. We're riding in a wonderland of snow.
Giddy up, giddy up, giddy up, it's grand, just holding your hand.
Our cheeks are nice and rosy and comfy, cozy are we. We're snuggled up together like birds of a feather would be. Let's take the road before us and sing a chorus or two.
Come on, it's lovely weather for a sleigh ride together with you.
Christmas party at the home of Farmer Gray. It'll be the perfect ending of a perfect day. We'll be singing the songs we love to sing without a single stop.
At the fireplace while we watch the chestnuts pop. Pop, pop, pop.
There's a happy feeling nothing in the world can buy. As they pass around the coffee and the pumpkin pie. It'll nearly be like a picture print by Korean eyes.
These wonderful things are the things we remember all through our lives. Just hear those sleigh bells jingling, ring, ting, tingling too. Come on, it's lovely weather for a sleigh ride together with you. Let's take that road before us and sing another chorus for two. Come on, it's lovely weather for a sleigh ride together with you. Ba-ba-ba-ba-da.
All right, welcome back. We're talking about Nobel Prizes, in La La Land, in our heads. We're nominating ourselves, each other for certain categories. And I asked you also, what would you donate to the Nobel Museum? Something that really kind of sums up who you are. And some of you got real serious. Like, I don't know, Benny said, I will donate my famous, I can't say the brand name, the 면카라티, that brand that I wear when I go out and about. So that's what he says. In terms of everybody else, a lot of nomination with like, I would nominate you for, best this. So Leslie says she nominates Park Jimin and Chun Jung-kook for the Nobel Busan Idols. Oh, that's very interesting. And for you, I nominate all of you as the friendliest, kindest bunch. If that were a category, that's where I'm putting all of you guys. And we're going to get to our special interview. Korean Air's long-awaited acquisition of Asiana Airlines is nearing completion, marking a significant milestone in the aviation industry. So after 4 years of navigating complex legal and regulatory challenges, Korean Air aims to finalize a deal on December 11th, depending on approval by the U.S. antitrust group. So this $1.3 billion merger will create one of Asia's largest carriers, promising both opportunities and challenges as Korean Air integrates Asiana's assets and also debt. Well, let's find out what this could mean for the industry and even for consumers. We have invited Dr. Sang-Yoon Lee, who is a postdoctoral researcher at Kyoto University. So he is on air with us. Hi, thanks for joining us.
Hi, good morning.
Yes, so if you can explain, if we can go back a little bit, a few years back as to why Korean Air decided to buy Asiana, or in Korea we say Asiana. So why? What's the reason?
That's a really good question, I think. But this question might be better framed as what led Korean Air to believe that it could acquire Asiana Airlines despite the clear antitrust concerns. As you know, there are only two full carrier services airlines in Korea, Korean Air and Asiana Airlines. So it was natural for Korean Air that acquiring the sole competitor was a rational and attractive choice. However, such a deal was impossible for a long time because acquisition would create a monopoly, and that would certainly be prohibited by government. So the right question may be that what changed Korean Air's perspective, making it believe that it can acquire Asiana Airlines despite antitrust concerns? So I would say the story traces back to 2019, before the pandemic became a really serious issue. In December 2019, HDC, the Hyundai Sanopgebar, Hyundai Development Company, signed a deal to acquire Asiana Airlines and filed a report with the KFTC in January 2020. And only within just 3 months, in April 2020, the KFTC approved the deal. KFTC means the Korea's Competition Authority, Federal Trade. And however, as we all know, the pandemic's impact was unprecedented and it was unpredictable. So the HDC demanded a re-evaluation of the deal. But of course, KDB was not happy with that. And Asiana Airlines main creditor refused the demand. So in September 2020, the deal collapsed, fell apart. However, just 2 months after the failure, in November 2020, KDB announced Korean Air as the new buyer. Specifically, KDB initiated this deal and several ministers, including the Minister of Economy, approved it through the 산업경쟁력 관계장관 회의, simply called Industrial Council.
Yes.
Then in February 2022, the KFTC conditionally approved the deal. So simply put, the decision for Korean Air to acquire Asiana Airlines was not entirely Korean Air's choice. It was largely driven by the government. And why did the government decide on this merger? I think there are a few reasons. First, we have to understand that back then, KDB faced growing criticism over repeated restructuring failures, and it had already injected trillions of Korean won into both airlines.
Yes.
So with the pandemic dragging on, KDB was under pressure to resolve Asiana Airlines' situation very quickly. And the second is that the policymakers misjudged the global trends in competition policy. I read some articles and news reports, and according to them, officials back then seemed to believe that the market concentration in the airline industry was a global trend and wouldn't raise significant antitrust risks. Of course, this was a miscalculation.
Yes.
The last is, you were saying something?
Oh, no, go ahead, continue.
Okay. The last is that the KFTC had no choice but to approve the deal because the government had already decided to push this deal through the Industrial Council. Meanwhile, let's look at the Korean Air's perspective. In his perspective, of course, as I said, acquiring Asiana Airlines, the sole competitor, was indeed an appealing idea. It meant eliminating its only competitor, while Asiana Airlines' heavy debt was a concern, of course. It was a big deal for Korean Air because first, KDB committed to providing 800 billion Korean won in order to fund that acquisition.
Yes.
And so second, at the time, the Korean Air chairman, Jo Won-tae, his English name is Walter Jo, was facing a management dispute, boardroom conflict with other shareholders. But by working with KDB, he could secure the government support and retain control over the company. So why not? So through this series of events, the Korean Air Asiana Airlines merger officially begins.
Well, thank you for going over the details of how we got to this point, Dr. Lee. But I also want to talk about the biggest issues and obstacles that Korean Air faced from outside of Korea. For example, the European Union or even the U.S. in getting their okay to push this merger through.
So, European Union and your question would be what was their concern? Or?
Yes, what were their biggest issues? Because obviously right now with the European Union on board and Korean Air waiting final word from the U.S. antitrust agency. So what were some of the biggest issues?
First, if you look at the European Union, the European Commission's main concerns focused on overlapping routes between Seoul and major European cities, especially Barcelona, Paris, and Frankfurt and Rome.
Yes.
Similarly, in the United Kingdom, the issue was with, as far as I remember, the London route. On these routes, the merged airline, post-merger Korean Air, would hold a 70% to 100% market share with a few or no competitors. This raised serious concerns about the potential price increases and reduce the competition after the merger. And of course, these concerns were also pointed out in the KFTC's decision as well. So to address these issues, the EU required the airlines to return airport slots on affected routes. However, back then, the finding appropriate remedy takers for the slots was very difficult. Eventually, we all know that TUE airline became the remedy taker, but since TUE is still not very competent and lacks the long-haul operational capacity of the two merging airlines, as far as I know, the Korean Air agreed to provide access to required aircraft and offer support to ensure effective operations of TUE on these routes. And in the United States, while there have been no official announcements, but concerns were first reported in May 2023 in a political article, which stated that the Department of Justice was considering lawsuit against the deal. And the routes under the scrutiny appeared to include San Francisco, Los Angeles, and Seattle, New York City, and Honolulu, where the two airlines had overlapping operations. Actually, these passenger routes had also been pointed out in the KFTC's review as well. And to address these concerns, as far as I know, in January 2024, this year, it was reported that Korean Air promised to lease its aircraft to Air Premia to enable the company to expand its services on North American routes to appease the DOJ's concerns. And these concerns are related to passenger transport, but both the European Union and the US also raised issues about cargo air transport. The concern was actually not pointed out by the KFTC, but that they were really concerned about monopolization in this services sector.
Well, to Dr. Lee, if we also talk about, because you already alluded to Korean Air having to give up some of the flight routes, and you also mentioned the cargo aspect of Asiana's cargo business. But, how will this ultimately affect the company, these changes?
That's really important question. But personally, I don't believe Korean Air has given up much in this case. You mentioned give up some flight routes in air cargo, but Korean Air has given up nothing from my perspective. Well, it is true that Korean Air agreed to return certain slots and the traffic rights and sell the cargo division to address competition authorities' concerns, as you just correctly mentioned. But these assets, in fact, all originally belonged to Asiana Airlines, not Korean Air. I think, in fact, Korean Air has lost nothing. And from my perspective, it seems that Korean Air has managed to kill its competitor, Asiana Airlines, quite successfully through this government-backed merger. The most significant impact of these changes, of course, will be the strengthening of Korean Air's market power, or you can call it monopoly power. Of course, as I just mentioned, there are some remedy takers like a TUE and Air Premia or Air Incheon. Air Incheon was decided to take the cargo business of Asiana Airlines company. They have emerged as new competitors, but none of them come close to matching the competitive pressure Asiana Airlines once had.
I see.
So without a strong competitor, I think Korean Air, thanks to this deal, is likely to gradually consolidate and expand its market power over time. That's my perception.
Thank you for sharing your very interesting insight and your opinion on that front. And with this merger, obviously the aviation industry here in Korea is going to change. But do you think that Korea, with its flagship carrier now, Korean Air, just basically the one, will make it a stronger competitor to other Asian companies or other even Asian hubs? What do you think?
Very interesting view, and I think it sounds really rational. But before I start, first of all, I believe that no one knows the future. And I also believe that that's why it's so important to make the optimal decisions in the present. However, this case, as I just explained, or as we just discussed, was not the optimal decision at all. And I believe it was kind of, in academic terms, a suboptimal decision, or in a more general term, is policy failure, I think. So that said, of course, even poor decisions can sometimes lead to unexpected positive outcomes.
Sure.
So in that sense, I think the scenario you mentioned, the Asian hub, where the merger strengthened Korea's competitiveness as an Asian hub, well, could certainly be a possibility. For example, I recently came across a news report that Delta Airlines has shifted its hub operations from Narita Airport in Japan to International Airport. And this could be seen as a very encouraging sign of Korea's growing competitiveness as a hub.
I see.
However, I'm still skeptical about any meaningful synergies from this merger. Well, perhaps my skepticism is because of the fact that I'm not very expert in this aviation industry, but from a general perspective, as a competition lawyer, I think the success of a hub airport largely depends on high demand for travel to or travel through Korea. And I'm struggling to see any strong connection between this merger and an increase in such demand. Actually, on the contrary, I personally believe that having diverse airline alliances contribute to a hub airport's competitiveness. But with this merger, Asiana Airlines, a Star Alliance member, will disappear. And there will be only Korean Air in the market, which is part of SkyTeam.
Yes.
So I'm not personally not that convinced that this merger will necessarily enhance Korea's status as a hub. But again, I'm not a very expert in this industry, so I will leave it here as an open question.
Well, thank you for answering it. And so after this merger, since you have expressed your skepticism about this deal in the first place, what challenges do you think are going to be the biggest ones that Korean Air will face? For example, there has to be an integration of Asiana staff, obviously the planes, and even the routes. So what do you think on this front?
That's also really important, but a little bit difficult question for me. But as I already said, no one knows the future. So we have to focus on making the most rational and optimal decision in the present. But I believe this merger was not the case. It was really suboptimal. And regarding the staff issue, as far as I know, Korean Air has promised to guarantee employment for Asian employees under the government's oversight. It's positive. It's really good from a labor right perspective. But such guarantees may lead to inefficiency issues over time for the company, the management, which could increase the societal cost, like reduced consumer welfare. Similar concerns may apply to the management of assets, I think. And the government has committed to addressing these challenges against the consumer welfare. But I think such an intervention, a regulatory approach itself only adds further social costs. If Asian Airlines had remained independent in the market, then competing with the Korean Air, a more efficient and consumer-friendly outcome could have been achieved without these burdens, administrative burdens. So looking ahead, I personally fear this merger may ultimately increase costs for consumers and society. Maybe it would be really good for that company, but from the perspective of the society, it looks so. But still, now that the decision has already happened, so I hope that the integration succeeds and it would yield some unexpected good results. That's my opinion.
Thank you for your analysis and opinion of this merger. Thanks for joining us today, Dr. Lee. We appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thank you very much.
Once again, this was Dr. Sang-Yoon Lee, and he talked about, his skepticism and, in his view, this suboptimal deal. But at the end, of course, he did mention how he is expressing, optimism in what may come. We just don't know until it really does go down. So we'll keep an eye on this story. And for now, we're going to get to our next song. This is Daddy Cool by Boney M.
crazy like a fool. What about Daddy Cool?
she believes in him. She loves her daddy.
It's that time. It's time for Bonnie and the Health.
Good morning.
Oh, not so healthy today, Bonnie. A little nasally. Are you okay?
A little nasally, yeah.
But you're okay?
A little winter cold has got me, but feeling good.
All right.
Just a little stuffy. Thanks.
Many people are, so yes.
Yeah,
we feel
I know.
you. Well, what are we going to jump into today?
So I wanted to cover the last 2 weeks in case you guys took a little break, or just to remind you, we talked about microplastics, the harms of microplastics in our body and how they're getting there. And one of the ways that I covered was packaged foods, right? And a lot of foods that we're eating nowadays, especially in Korea, because convenience stores are so convenient. They have lots of different foods for us to eat on the go really quickly, especially students. So processed foods, packaged foods are everywhere, really easy. But I wanted to cover not only are they getting microplastics into our body, but also the foods themselves. Why are they dangerous to us? So what is the danger of processed foods really? So I'll go into just what are processed foods.
Okay.
Right? And they can be minimally processed and things that you don't expect, like bagged spinach, frozen berries. These are actually minimally processed technically because they've been cleaned, peeled, cut. They've been managed in a facility of some sort.
That's true.
Packaged in some way. So they're close to their natural form, but they're not 100% in their natural form.
True.
You can have moderately processed foods, and these things have added ingredients for flavor or just for preservation.
Okay.
So things in canned foods, roasted nuts that have like added salt in
Even
them.
bread, right?
Yes.
Bread
too, because that's a kind of a natural form, but it's been altered a little bit. And things like yogurt as well. And then you have your heavily ultra processed food. And these are foods that are industrially manufactured, and they contain little to no whole food. And they often have multiple added ingredients such as sugar, salt, fat, artificial flavors, lots of different kinds of colorings. You know, you look at the package, it's like red 45, orange this, instead of a natural coloring. Emulsifiers that make the food either harder or crispier or softer. And then tons of preservatives to make sure that they can last a long time on your shelf and they won't go bad. And these foods are also low in fiber, vitamins, and minerals, things that you need. And the examples of these are sodas, chips, candy, things that we label as junk food.
Even ramyeon.
Yes, I know our fan favorite, any kind of instant noodles, processed meats, frozen meals, and any kind of packaged snacks. So I know that we know these aren't healthy for us. Most of us.
In our brain, we know,
right?
Yes.
But they're really hard to refrain from.
Okay.
You know, even I love to indulge in the
let me
packaged
ask you,
snacks.
do you?
Yeah, I mean,
Like
especially
once in a
when you
while?
get in a group. Whenever you have a group and you go on vacation, you know, you go back to the hotel room, you have to have some snacks.
Something,
to
right.
end, while you're chatting, you know, ending the night. So I do love to indulge in these, but I have to let you know. So the thing is, what kind of triggered all of this? There's a new, you know, those stores that you go into and you can make your own instant noodles and all these different and there's nobody there working.
Sure.
So one of these has moved in underneath my place of work. And every day I go in and I see so many people. It's packed in there every day. Mostly students, but some adults also. And there's so many wrappers everywhere. So everything in these stores is all packaged or processed.
So that would fall under the heavier ultra-processed foods, right?
Yes, tons of different ingredients added in. And so that's why I kind of wanted to do some more research on it, because I also did see a BBC documentary and it covered the rise of obesity in the world, really, and how it correlated with the introduction of packaged foods, of processed foods.
Right.
So this directly relates to how people are getting obese, and in that, in turn, having more chronic diseases, especially like cancer, diabetes. So this is why I wanted to bring this to you guys, because yes, they are very tempting and very convenient because they're fast, but they have so many added unhealthy ingredients, and it's kind of become like plastics. They're so normal nowadays. It's so natural. Like we see it all over the place, and kids especially. It's just so normal to have these packaged foods that we have not really we're not thinking as much about it.
We've become like desensitized even to this, right?
Yeah. Just like, plastics are everywhere. I talked about that, but also processed foods are just everywhere. So we don't really think about it too much. But I'll go into, the obvious things, the added sugars that are in processed foods, and things that we don't really even think about, like ketchup and salad dressing, are loaded with added sugars, just so they can taste good on our palate. A study in JAMA, Internal Medicine, found that individuals consuming 10 to 25% of daily calories through added sugars have a 30% higher risk of cardiovascular mortality, or dying of something related to heart disease. So those added sugars are pretty dangerous. Also, your unhealthy fats. Lots of processed foods have trans fats. So these are not natural fats that you're getting through a natural food ingredient. They're highly saturated, and this raises your LDL, your bad cholesterol, also increasing your risk of heart disease. We know, of course, a lot of added sodium, again, to taste really, really good. These added sodium, though, increases your blood pressure and, of course, risk factor of heart disease and stroke. Very low in nutritional value. Again, I know I'm stating the obvious.
But still, we need to hear it.
Yeah, they lack nutrients such as fiber, vitamins. And I want to say also, there's something, they kind of trick us, because on the labels, they might have like veggie straws, or this is made out of corn, this is made out of... So you're thinking, oh, I'm eating a vegetable.
But what percentage of it is it?
It's like green. So technically,
is it like a veggie?
No, there's so many added ingredients. That little bit of added vegetable, or because it's made out of original state a vegetable,
yes,
still you're getting barely any of the original nutrients in that vegetable. So don't let those labels trick you. Also, any kind of processed foods linked to obesity and metabolic syndrome. So processed foods are calorie dense and they're really addictive.
Yes.
So they promote overeating. So you're more likely to overeat out of a packaged food than you're eating something in its natural state.
Okay.
So a study in 2019 published in Cell Metabolism showed that participants consuming ultra-processed foods on average had 508 more calories per day and gained weight, way more weight than those that aren't having ultra-processed food.
Yes.
So for this, I want you to think about if you could have two of the same meals, one coming from a processed or packaged food and one that you made like from scratch. And an easy example for this is curry.
Curry,
or kare.
okay.
That we like to have. So some of this kare that you eat can come from a packaged box.
Yes.
So you get the sauce already kind of made for you. Yes.
Heat it up.
So really easy. But if you look on the ingredients list, there are so many things on there. Probably a lot of ingredients that you can't even pronounce. And really, if you make this at home, it can be an easy 4-ingredient dish that you can make at home. So if you are consuming the same meal, curry, for dinner, you can have it in a processed way and in a non-processed way. The processed way is going to give you way more calories than you need and way more sodium and unnatural processed ingredients.
Sure.
I'm talking about all the physical impacts it can have, but it also has impacts on your mental health. So diets with a lot of processed foods are linked to higher rates of depression and anxiety. And upwards of 33% increase in depressive symptoms if you are having a high processed diet.
Okay, now that we have all the info and you've preached to the choir, as everybody's saying.
I'm scared, you guys.
No. So what can we do kind of as an alternative to kind of stop the addiction to these highly ultra-processed foods?
Okay, so I want you guys to look at the food that you are eating and seeing how many are coming in a package. And I mean, how many things are you having to open in a bag to eat? And this includes your fruits and vegetables. If you have to open a bag to eat whatever you're eating, this food, it probably is not the healthiest option. Also, look at the ingredients list. One, if you're eating something that has an ingredients list, it's probably processed. But two, look at the ingredients on that list. If you can pronounce all of them, that's a great sign. But if you cannot pronounce most of them and you don't know what most of them are, those are dangerous to your health, probably.
Easy.
Yes, and compare items. If you're going to buy two different items and one has way less ingredients or way more ingredients that you can pronounce, pick that one. So be a smart shopper. When you are shopping, look at the ingredients and try to transition into more whole foods. So if you're sitting there thinking right now, actually a lot of the food that I'm eating, a lot of the food in my refrigerator or in my cabinets are in a package, then try to think, what of those can you move into a whole food? What can you buy out of those things that are actually come in a natural state, natural form, that has been minimally processed? And even things like chips come from potatoes. You can make those at home in your oven.
I've made like homemade French fries.
Yeah,
and the color looks distinctly different from what you really normally see at like the Golden Arches but there's a reason for that. And, because, but if you make them at home, they may look a little different, the dishes and food, but actually much healthier.
And your taste buds will change. At first, you're like, this doesn't taste as good as the original or maybe a frozen kind. But if you keep doing this, honestly, your palate will change and they will become just as delicious for you and will have long-lasting great effects on your health.
Well, thank you for going over the ins and outs of processed food. And so many comments coming up saying like, you're preaching to the choir. It's like a sermon on how to be a good, healthy person. But, Bonnie never makes us feel bad. It's all,
good. I'm
so people are very thankful.
Yes, don't be guilty at all. I indulge as well.
I feel so much better knowing that, though. I do.
Yes.
All right. Well, thank you, Bonnie. We'll check in with you next week.
Yeah, see you next week.
All right. This was The Health. And here's hoping that you have a really fantastic Tuesday, listeners. And once again, the temperatures, you might think, oh, it doesn't look so bad. Like if you look on your phone, however, the wind chill factor, that's going to get you because it's going to be really chilly out today. All right, here we go. Final song. This is 내 여자라니까 by 이승기. So as requested by Benny. And join us again tomorrow. Bye, everybody.
나를 동생으로만 그냥 그 정도로만 귀엽다고 하지만 누난 내게 여자야. 네가 뭘 알겠냐고 크면 알게 된다고 까분다고 하지만 누난 내게 여자야. 누나가 누굴 만나든지 누굴 만나 뭐라든지 난 그냥 기다릴 뿐. 누난 내 여자니까 너는 내 여자니까 너라고 부를게. 뭐라고 하든지 남자로 느끼도록